Sahanavavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam everyone. Today I had mentioned to you that we will do the food prayers because there was a request. From next week onwards, we will take up Ashtotram. Ashtotram will take a longer time, the 108 mantras. So I would say between 9 to 12 days it may take. 9 to 12 sessions, because every session, if you take up 9 or 10 or 12 mantras, it will take about 9 sessions. So for today, we will just try to cover the food prayer, I thought. So thank you. So I will start with some introduction, I would say. Introduction, I will just introduce the verses. We will look at the word to word, how to pronounce it, word to word meanings, and then we will look at some aspects, some principles which Swami has explained. So that's the goal of today's class. So I'll start with the title, Bhojana Mantra. Bhojana Mantra. I hope this last letter is a compound consonant, as you can see. It's made up of in, it, ir, and ah. I think we have already looked at mantra, so I think you all are familiar with it, so I did not go into too much detail, because most of the compound consonants we have dealt with so in the past. So I am not going to go into a very great many detail, unless if someone has any question, you can ask and then we can discuss. Okay, Bho. This is the fourth letter in the Pa Varga, so it is with the extra bit of air, aspirated Bho. Okay, BHO, I would say. Jana mantra. Okay, Bhojana means food. Mantra means the mantras which we chant before we take part with any food, partake in any food. I'm just going to read the verse, the one of the mantras which we chant as per Swami's instructions. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagnau, Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. This verse is actually from the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You can see I put it here. I've given the transliteration down. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chaturthodhyayah, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Okay. I think you should not have too much difficulty in reading, but anyway, I will go through it slowly. Shri Ma Udba Ga Va Gita. Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Cha Tu Irtho. This is the second letter in the Thavarga. This is called an avagraha. I think I have introduced you. It's A actually, but in the middle of a compound word, they use this sign which looks like an S. It's called avagraha, and it's generally silent, but it represents A. Chaturtodhyayaka. So basically, this Chaturtaha Adhyaya, but through Sandhi, it becomes Chaturtodhyaya. I did not spend much time, but if you all want, I will spend time later on to explain that Sandhi. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Okay. So in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, this is the fourth chapter. Chaturtha means four. Adhyaya means chapter. So it's chapter 4. The name of that Adhyaya is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So it's the fourth chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, and the name of the chapter is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. This shloka or verse is the 24th. Okay, I've given in English here, Roman letter. It's 24th verse in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so I'll just take a look at how we read the verse word by word, letter by letter, and then we look at the meanings. So I have also, I've tried to slightly change how I do things because I was taking it slowly. Now I'm going to mix up the reading, any grammar, and also the meanings. Okay, I hope it works for you all. If you have issues, please let me know. I will change it. So the first word in the verse is Brahmarpana. Okay. So I will just stop here. I think there's always confusion about Brahma, how it's pronounced. So I will spend a little bit of time because there are always questions asked. So I think I've already mentioned once before, but I thought I will spend a little more time. The word Brahma, there are multiple ways in which people pronounce. So I will just go over those concepts and then we will go from there. Okay. People, classical Sanskrit, which is what we are learning, which is I would say slightly modern. The second letter is pronounced as ma. Is the first and ma is the second letter in this compound consonant. Okay. Sorry. Okay, and ma. But then there are some, for the Vedic chanting, there are some slight differences. So I will mention that also. So there is, in Vedas, there is something called Siksha. So Vedangas, they are ancillary subjects to the study of Veda. There are 6 of them. And there is something called Siksha. Okay, Siksha is what covers how words are pronounced and so on. Because there is multiple subjects, Siksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, and so on. Meter, grammar, and pronunciation. Nirukta, which is basically the meaning of the words. So these are ancillary subjects people who study Veda study. So there is a subject called Siksha. There is one Siksha written by one rishi called Shaunaka. So in the Shaunaka Siksha, the rishi says the ha which comes before the nasal sounds, which is na, nya, na, na, ma, and the consonants called antastha, or which is ya, ra, lava. Before that, when the ha comes, the ha should be pronounced as a chest sound. So the ha can be produced on the throat, kanta, or it can be produced in the chest, called uras. Okay. So according to him, the ha can be pronounced should be a chest sound. Like for example, in a word like ahara, okay, which ha comes, you pronounce it with the throat, ha, okay. But when it's a compound consonant, where the second letter is a nasal sound or yara lava, the ha should be pronounced as a chest sound. So for example, I will just demonstrate it. Like Brahma means it is a I've used the throat. But in this Vedic chanting, that Rishi says you use a chest sound. So what is the chest sound is? Brahma. Brahma. So the thing is, the ha is also not even heard even. Actually, it's a vibration in the chest. Brahma. So the ha will not be even heard. Okay, Brahma. That is one school. Okay, but then there is another school um, for each of the Vedas. For example, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. There are texts called Pratishakya. Okay, this Pratishakya is a text in the Veda which tell you how that particular Veda should be chanted. Okay, so there is a Pratishakya called Taitriya Pratishakya. For the Krishna Yajur Veda is one of the Vedas. Like if you take the 4 Vedas, I'm going into a bit of detail because there are a few who are interested. I hope you bear with me. So Rig Veda is one. The Yajur Veda, actually there are 2. It got split into 2. One called Krishna Yajur Veda, the other one called Shukla Yajur Veda. There's a story around how Yajnavalkya did it and so on. But I think I will not go into that detail today. So this Krishna Yajur Veda is predominantly chanted in the south of India. So if most of the Vedic chants which we listen to are from the Krishna Yajur Veda. And Taitriya Upanishad, Taitriya Aranyaka, these are very key texts within this Krishna Yajur Veda. So there is a Pratishakya or a Siksha document, and a Siksha text called Taitriya Pratishakya. In that there is a mention about ha, how ha should be pronounced. So there is a sutram given there. There are a couple of different interpretations, but in one of the interpretation is the ha follows ma. So that's why you find many of the chanters of Krishna Yajur Veda chanting Brahma, like that they will chant. But even in Krishna Yajur Veda, there's another school which chants it as Brahma, with her in the front. So I just wanted to let you know there are multiple school of thoughts. I guess they were popularized by different rishis. I think everyone can choose. So that was specific to how the Yajurveda texts are to be chanted. Okay, but that has also become common language. So many people also, with the word Brahma, they will say Brahma, even though it's written as Brahma. But for our purposes, because we are studying Sanskrit, I would just go with the rules of Panini, which he has not differentiated. The pronunciation is Uhma. Okay, so I hope you all understand. So for all practical purposes, I would say all three are equally acceptable and each person can choose, because this is a point of contention. So I thought I would just address it now itself. But for our class purposes, I am just going to strictly follow how it is written, which is Uhma. Okay, I hope you bear with me with that explanation and also the way I am going to pronounce it. I'm not saying either one is wrong, but for our purposes, I'm going to stick to this. Yes, sir. So Brahma Pranam. This word is actually made of two words, so it becomes a compound word called samasa. So if we split the words, they are Brahma and Arpanam. Brahma and Arpanam. This Uhma and the A join together, and through Sandhi, it becomes Uhma. Okay. So Brahmarpanam, which is made of two words, Brahma and Arpanam. Brahma, I've used the word Brahman here with no real translation, but for those who would like an English equivalent, I've used the word God. People would take objection to the translation of God, because God, as Swami says, it's the creation, organization, and destruction. So the three murtis, are embodied in God, who is the creator, sustainer, and destroyer. But Brahman is beyond that. Actually, Paramatman, which is unmanifest also. Okay, not only the manifest, which is creation, the sustenance, and destruction. There is an unmanifest God, which is actually 3/4 of Brahman. So Paramatman is another better understanding of that. Okay, but for our practical purposes, I use the word God because people are familiar, because in English that's the only concept. Okay, so Brahma is God, you can say, for all practical purposes. Arpanam means offering. Okay, Brahma is, so this means God is offering. The offering which we make is God. Anything which we offer. So in this case, food we are offering, so food is also God. The next word which you saw in the verse actually is made of 4 words. Brahma Havir Brahmagnav. Okay. Brahma Havir Brahmagnav. Okay. So there are 4 words there. Brahma, Havihi, Brahma, Agnav. So there are certain sandhis which are showing up. So I will just explain to you what the sandhis are. If you take the middle 2 words, because there is Brahma and Ha, there is nothing much changing. They are just put together side by side. So we don't have any issues, no sandhi coming into play. But in the second one, Havihi and Brahma, the Havihi, the Visarga, these 2 dots become Ir. This Visarga sandhi. So I think we have discussed that Bhur Bhuvasvaha. The Bhur, Bhuhu becomes Bhur. Bhur Bhuva, because it's a sandhi. So same way, Havir Brahma. Okay. So I have just showed you Ir is shown as a hook at the top and Brahma. Okay, that is one sandhi. So that's what you are seeing here. Okay, Havir Brahma. Then the second one is Brahmagnav. So there are 2 words, Brahma and Agnav. That Uhma and becomes Uhma. So it's become Brahmagnav. It's similar to the one which we looked at earlier. Okay. So because the Brahma, the last letter is an akara. It's a vowel, a, and a together form a longer a. Okay, Brahma. That's how you get Brahmagnav. So Brahma again is Brahman. Havihi. Havi means the original word is actually Havis, but there are certain rules in terms of using it. It takes on the word Havihi. Havir also is another translation, as you can see here. So based on certain rules, they change form. So Havihi can be, there are many meanings you will see, but for our purposes, I thought I will just stick to two meanings. You can say ghee or clarified butter. Havihi is any offering which is burnt in the fire. So the thing which helps the burning of the fire is ghee, which is traditionally used in yajnas. So Havi stands for ghee. There are other meanings like water and so on. So the water we drink also can be called Havis. Okay. For our purposes, however you want to, the oil, anything which flows, okay, which is supposed to feed the fire is called ghee. Havi or ghee or clarified butter is normal meaning for our purposes. Brahma means again God. Agnau, in the fire. Agnihi as I put here is fire. That is a name for fire. Agni and Visargahi. Agnihi is fire. In the fire means, so it's called, we had discussed Vibhakti last time about case affixes. So the Agnihi, in the Agni means that N part becomes now, Agnau. So that means it's in the fire. Okay, we have to look at so if you take the second word, so what we are saying is the offering is God, the ghee we pour inside the fire is also God, and Brahma Agni, in the fire of God, the fire which we are pouring everything in is also God, in the fire. So we'll go to the next slide. Brahmana means by Brahman. So Brahman is the simple noun, okay, the first vibhakti, okay, the simple, whenever you use the word Brahman as a subject, as a simple noun, it's Brahman or Brahma. But Brahmana means by that Brahma. Again, you can see this is third vibhakti. If I didn't go into too many details, I don't know how many of you are interested. Brahmana means by that Brahma. But so the person who is doing, it's called Brahmana. Hutam means offered. So as you can see, the food, the offering is Brahma, God. The ghee which we offer is also God. The fire is also God. In that fire, it's offered also by God. So all aspects of this yajna is God. So that's why even in a yajna, each of the person who is performing is also given a title. Brahma is the person who is officiating the yajna is also called. Okay, because they are meant to take the form of God while doing it, because they are becoming an instrument of that Lord. So the next word is Brahmaiva. Okay, Brahmaiva. This is also a sandhi, which is made of Brahma and Eva. This, the last part of this letter is A, and this is A. A plus A gives us I. Okay, A, like that. If you keep on saying fast, it becomes I. Okay, so Brahmaiva. Okay. Brahma again is Brahman. Eva. Eva is one of the most used words which has multiple meanings depending on the context. So in this case, I have just taken two. it basically emphasizes something. Okay, so indeed, alone. Okay, so Brahma alone. So it also signifies there's only one thing in this world, which is God. Everything is the food is God, the ghee is God, the fire is God. It's also offered by God. So it can say Brahma eva. Everything is Brahman. It eva can even mean everything. Okay, Brahma eva. There's nothing else. Okay. Thena. Thena is by him, by whoever. Okay. So the he is the word in Sanskrit is Saha. Sa and the Visarga is Saha. I think we have looked at it earlier on. Tena means by that person. Okay, this is also Vibhakti. I will not go into it. So, tena, by that person, by him. Gantavyam. Okay, Gantavyam means, I will just put the word reached. It comes from the word gacha. Gacha is the to go, to reach. From that it becomes Gantavyam. It will be reached by that person. Okay, will be reached or reached. Then Brahma Karma. Okay, Brahma, I have not split it. Brahma is Brahman. Karma means work, which I think all of you know. Karma. The last word is Samadhina. Okay, Samadhi, all of you know, is that state, the last state in the yoga which we attain. Many people think we just lose ourselves, but Swami says Samadhi is to be, our mind should be always in a state of equanimity, not ruffled, not shaken. Okay, Samadhina means by that, through that Samadhi. Okay, so what basically this, we have to take all this together. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. So that person will be reaching Brahman. Who is that person? What is he doing, or what's the qualification? Brahma karma samadhina. When he does God's work in a state of equanimity, unruffled by anything, when someone does it, that person himself will reach Brahman. Not only that, everything will reach. Saha also can say, Tat means that also. You can say the food is also reaching, the ghee is also reaching, and the person who is offering is also reaching. Okay, so that is the meaning of this verse. So Brahmarpanam, the food is God, or the offering is God. Brahma Havis, the ghee is God. The water we drink and the oil which we consume is also God. Brahmaivaten, Brahmanahutam, that's when we think we offering to God, but actually God is offering into the fire. And all this will reach God when it is all done in a state of samadhi. Through that process, we will be able to reach the Lord. So this is the prayer before food. So the belief is, if you with that state of mind that if you think the food is God, we are actually doing a yajna, because then we are offering it into ourselves, and it's done by God, and then food itself will reach God. Okay, so that is the meaning of this verse. So with that, I will go to the next verse. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Mashritah Pranapana Samayuktah Pachamyannam Chatur Vidam. Vidham. We'll look at the pronunciation a little later. This words is also taken from the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Panchadashodhyaya. Okay, so Panchadasha Adhyaya. So Panchadasha means 15. Pancha is 5, Dasha is 10. So 15. Panchadasha Adhyaya. So 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The name of that chapter is Purushottama Yoga. Purusho, this is the cerebral sha. Purushottama Yoga. Okay. This is the 24th verse. Sorry, 14th verse in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Wait 1 second. So I should just put it here. I think I just let me just once give me a minute. Yeah, in the earlier one I put 4th chapter, so I put the 15th chapter. So I will save this so you will know. So this is taken from the 15th chapter, Panchadashodhyaya of Purushottama Yoga, and the 14th verse. Okay. We'll look at the meaning and the grammar and pronunciation slowly. Let's see. There's a question from Sister Dushi. Dushi, I will deal with your question at the end. So, aham is I. First one, aham, the word starts with aham. Aham means I. Vaishvanaro. Okay. This ro is because of sandhi actually. The word is actually Vaishvanaraha. Vaishvanara is the fire. It's the name of the fire which is supposed to be burning within us. I don't know whether we discussed it, I think earlier on when I discussed the Gayatri, I may have mentioned Om, while describing Om, the A is supposed to be the waking world. In the waking world, whatever we see in this world is energized by a fire, the God, by Brahman. God resides in everything as the fire, which is called Vaishvanara. Vaishvanara, the word Vishwam, comes from that word because this Vishwam is this world. In this Vishwam, everywhere it is present. So the Agni, which is present everywhere, is called Vaishvanara. Okay. So that's the name of the fire, the form of the fire in which God resides in us. Okay, so let's take that way. Bhutva. Bhutva means having become. The word comes from the word bhava. Okay. Bhu. To be, to exist. Okay. So bhutva, having become. Because the utva is a suffix which basically means something which has happened already. Okay. Bhutva. I think we had already come across similar like adaya, like that in Sanskrit in Suprabhatam. Okay, so it's similar to that, having become. Praninam. Prani means living being. Praninam means in living beings, plural, okay? Praninam, in living beings. So aham Vaishwanaro bhutva pranina. Okay. Aham praninam Vaishwanaraha bhutva. In aham I, in all the living beings, having become the Vaishwanara. Okay, that's the meaning. Deham ashrit. So here Deham ashritaha is made of two words. Deham and ashritaha. Okay. And a becomes ma. Deham means body. Ashritaha means dwelling or stationed. Okay. There are other meanings of ashrita, but for this, in this context, I will take. Because ashrita means to seek refuge also is ashrita. Take residence. Okay, you can say take residence. So I have become the Vaishvanara fire in every living being and have taken residence in their body. Okay. So this is the meaning of the first line. The second line is start with pranapana. This pranapana is also two words coming together, coming and forming a sandhi. So it's prana and apana. The na and a becomes na. Maybe I should have highlighted it in red. I hope you'll understand. So this na and this becomes na. Okay. So that's a sandhi again. So what is prana? I've given you the meaning of the vital air prana. That's what I've said here. We will take a look at the meanings later. Detail, because I just wanted to discuss all the pranas, so I will have a couple of slides later, so I will deal with that later. Apana is vital air, apana. Prana, apana. Samayukta. Yukta means to join. Sama means in equal proportion, you can say, or in a state of balance. So I've used the word joining in balance. Okay. Prana, apana, samayukta. So aham Vaishwanara, the fire Vaishwanara joins prana and apana in a state of balance. Samayukta. The next word is again a sandhi. Pachamyannam is made of two words. Me, this pachami in the last letter, and becomes umya. Okay. So e and a always becomes ya. E, because in the me, the last letter is e. The vowel is e, and it's followed by a. So e a becomes ya. Okay, as you can, if you say ia fast, it becomes ya. So that is the most sandhi. Is actually a very natural evolution of sound. Actually, all the sandhis, if we really do some analysis. So pachami annam become pachamyannam. Okay. Pachami means I digest. I put I in bracket because pachami itself means when we talk about oneself, pachami. Pachami is pacha is to cook. Okay. In this case, the cooking which happens in our body is digestion. So I have used the word digest. Pachami annam. So I have put the word cook also. Okay, which anything you cook by fire is called pacha. Okay. Even the fruit which become ripens, that's also called pacha. Pakwa is the word which is used. That means it is already cooked by the sun and the fire which comes from the solar radiation. Okay, so pachami means I cook or I digest. Annam means food. Chaturvidam means chatur is four, vidham is types. So this verse basically is I taking the form of the Vaishvanara fire reside in the body of every living being. Okay. And prana apana samayukta, joining in a state of balance. Prana and apana, the vital airs prana and apana. I digest, I cook food of four kinds. Okay, so this is the verse. As you can see, this is from the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This is the 14th shloka. Okay. So that is roughly the meaning of the word. But I thought I will just, I just wanted to, some additional material, because there are a couple of concepts which I thought I should discuss, because people may have questions and people have questions. So I will discuss them. So first I will take the four types of food, Chaturvidham. Chaturvidham annam. What are the four types of food? Is the question which gets asked. So I'm covering it here. This I have taken the words from what's called Shankara Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita. So Adi Shankaracharya has written a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So in that commentary, he is explaining what these four are. The same thing has been Swami also in a couple of discourses has mentioned. But I thought I will introduce you some Sanskrit words. So I have given the words. Okay, so we'll just go over them. Bhojyam is the first word. Bhojyam. Bhojyam means any food which we chew and eat, enjoy and chew and eat. All that forms under Bhojyam category. Okay, so what we chew and eat. Bite, chew. Okay. The next one is Bhakshyam. Bha is the fourth letter. Okay. Bha, Iksh, yeah, Bhakshyam. So Bhakshyam is the food which we swallow. Generally, liquids we swallow, we gulp it down. Okay, so that is called Bhakshyam. The next one is Choshyam. Okay, Choshyam means anything which we suck. For example, a baby sucks the milk from the mother, or we use a straw and suck liquids. That process is called Choshyam. So any food which is consumed through that process is called one type of food. The last one is Lehyam. I think everyone knows about Lehyam, which is usually like a paste which comes. It has to be licked and eaten. So that's Lehyam. Because there are you can ask, why are these differences? The difference is each of this process of we eat is also does certain things to the food actually, which we may not be aware of. But scientifically, how we have to eat a particular food is also given. So these four kinds of food are digested by that Aham, which is God. Okay. we will look at, I also wanted to cover the prana, apana. So there are 5 vital layers, pancha pranas, they are called. They're prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. Because I thought this introduce of Vayu is introduced, so I thought I will take the opportunity to go over this. I hope you all find it useful. Okay, what are these airs and what it is for? Actually, Vayu means air. Okay, so prana vayavaha, Vayu is singular, vayavaha means it is plural, many airs. So prana vayavaha I have used, that means the vital airs. Okay, prana is vital, vayavaha means airs. Okay, so we'll just take a look at them. So the first one is called Pranavayu. Okay, Pranavayu. Pranavayu is the vital air which is life. Anything when we inhale oxygen, it gives us life. Okay, because that's an energy which comes in the form of air. I think modern science may call it oxygen, but it's much more than that. It's not a chemical. There's some life energy which is supposed to be coming from the sun. Because the sun is the one which keeps everything alive. So the air around us in this world is filled with that energy of sun. Okay, and that sun energy, solar energy, enters us as prana into the lungs, and that's what keeps us alive. Okay, so prana is the life-giving energy which comes in the form of air into us. The second one is apana. Okay, that's a vital air which grasps food, exhales, and excretes. So these are the meanings which I have given here. So Apanavayu generally, so Pranavayu people say, generally you will read everywhere, they will say it's in the lungs. It enters through the lungs, but it spreads everywhere in the body and keeps our body alive. Okay. The Apanavayu grasps food. In Aitareya Upanishad, when apparently there's a description of creation itself. So when the creation happened, God apparently created food. And this food was, how to consume the food was something, it was a process. So the Upanishad explains, you look at the food, can the food enter you? You cannot. So through sight, you cannot grasp the food. Can you listen to the food, even if you hear something crackling when it's cooked, the food cannot enter you. Can you breathe the food in? Will it absorb? No, it will not. If you touch the food, will it enter you? No. So God has to create Apanavayu, which will actually grasp the food and make and digest it. And in the process of digestion, it also separates the good from the bad. And the bad is excreted, pushed out. So apana is also, exhalation is also called apana. Exhalation of the air is also called apana. Anything which you excrete, leaves the body, is called apana vayu, is the one which makes that happen. So we passing stools, passing urine is also called the function of the apana vayu. It is also the vayu which is used for procreation also. Even when man sperms leave the body, that is also apana vayu. The woman sends the baby out, that is also apana vayu. Without the functioning of the apana vayu, life cannot be sustained. So apana vayu has a big role in the sustenance and the departure of anything. Okay. So sometimes people say it is in our intestine, that is apana vayu. No, it's much more than that. Okay, even if sweat is also, you can say apana vayu pushes the sweat out. Okay, anything which is sent out is apana. Whatever is grasped is prana. Prana and apana. Okay, so you can see the fire inside, it waits, takes whatever comes in, processes and sends it out. So Vaishvanara does all that. Only through that process the nutrition is absorbed in the body. Okay. Then comes the word Vyana. The Vyana is the vital air which spreads energy everywhere. Okay. So for example, the nerves it's below we have 72,000 nerves. Nadi. There's no English translation because there is no equivalent concept. So we use the word nerves, but there are channels of energy within our body where everything, the energy is passed. For example, brain, they say, sends a signal for the heart to function. So the muscles, if even if a thought comes, grab this, there are signals which come and the muscles contract and expand through signals, electric signals. That is all Vyana because it spends, okay, that is the one which makes everything flow outward in the body. If the blood is flowing out in all the veins, all that is controlled by this called Vyana. Okay. Vyapaka means that which spreads. Okay. You should understand that this process is not only in our body, actually around the world also it happens. Like things in a plant, the seeds spread. If something bursts, everything spreads. All that is actually Vyana. Outside world also, inside also it happens. The same process happens, but that is it's called a vital air which keeps things alive. Okay, so next one, I will go to the next. The next one is called Udana. Udana. The vital air which travels upwards from the throat above. That's what I've said. It also aids in the mental functioning. All of things like the functioning of the brain, even our mental function, thinking about things, even to perceive God, anything higher is called Udana. Okay, even though the food, nutrition, everything comes into us, there is something which makes us function at a higher level. So Udana, always means moving upwards. Okay. So for example, if you take the water cycle in the body, in the world, the water is in the ocean and the water molecules spread everywhere. However, if it has to rain, the water molecules have to travel up and become clouds. Okay, so that is also Udana. Anything when it moves up, so that is part of nature. So for us to function normally, so that we can be useful in the society, Udana comes into function. It is the Vayu which helps even in our spiritual aspirations. So Udana has multiple values. Okay, Udana. Samana is that which spreads everything equally in this world. Okay, the food is absorbed in every single cell in the body. All that absorption in the body is spreading it and making everything in a state of balance. It keeps everything in a certain equilibrium. That is samana. Okay, that is also happening in our body, because if that doesn't happen, the body cannot function in a well-coordinated manner. Okay. In the world, you can say the rain, the clouds go up, and once it happens, the rain falls everywhere around the world. That is only the process through which the water is given everywhere in the world. So all the plants, everything survives. So this concept of samana, so you can samanatvam, all of them come from that. That means we should make sure that when Swami says samanatvam have to be practiced, means we should practice in our life in such a way that even what we have spreads out everywhere and everyone is equally happy. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Let the entire world be at peace, but at the same level of balance. So this samana has all those concepts built in, which is the way only when our body functions like that we will be healthy. So this is the function of the 5 vital airs in our body. I also, there's another piece of information, so I thought I would cover that also. So there are something called Upapranas. There are secondary vital airs also in the body. Swami has covered this in the Prashnottara Vahini. So I thought I will use this opportunity to just introduce that also, because we are on the topic of Pranavayus. In Prashnottara Vayani, you will find this. I've given you the names. So these are the main pranas which we talked about. But there are secondary pranas. I'm sure there are much more than that, but these are significant ones which are given names and are discussed in the scriptures. So I will go through them as well. Naga, they are also five. The Upapranas, the secondary pranas, also five in number. Naga, Kurma, Krikara, Deva Datta, Dhananjaya. These are the names given to those five secondary vital layers. Naga. Naga is actually a snake. Okay, so it helps in the belching. Okay, when you're burping or belching, when the air is in the stomach is caught, there's something which pushes it out. That is actually Naga. Okay, Kurma, actually tortoise. Actually, Kurma stands for tortoise. It helps in our blinking of the eye. So it can be anything in the body which twitches is also the same. But a regular healthy functioning is our eyelids continuously blink. So there's an air which is present, vital air, which makes it go. Okay. So you can even show your heartbeat or something, that we'll come to later. Kurma is blinking of the eyelids. Krikara, when you sneeze, there is a vital air which makes you sneeze. Okay, Krikara. Devadatta. Devadatta is the air which makes us yawn. Okay. And Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya is supposed to help the heart beat. Okay. And that not only heartbeat, it makes the body grow. Okay. All that happens because of Dhananjaya. Okay. And it's also accumulation of fat, means it makes the accumulation of fat happens through that. The body grows because of that. And the heart functions because of that. All that is Dhananjaya. That's also vital air, which resides in our body. So this is what I just wanted to cover today. I will just address Sister brother. So I will first address what Sister Dushi asked about what is the first school of thought. So I think about that's related to the pronunciation of the word Brahma. So I will just go back so that okay, let me just use here, okay, Brahma. So the first school of thought, sister, is what Patanjali has explained, how we have to, it's just basic simple Sanskrit, whereas and ma. So whenever consonants are brought together, in the order in which they're conjoined, they are pronounced. That's the way Sanskrit is. So for example, Agni, Ni. So that is simple, there's no complication. The way the letters are written, okay, is the way we read it. So Ni means Agni. So this in that order, Ma is Ha first, half Ha, and Ma. Ma. So that is a simple standard practice of how things are pronounced in Sanskrit. Okay, in a compound consonant. For example, Havir Brahma Ir Bra. Okay, so irpa, arpa. Okay, arpa. So after irpa comes. So the order in which it is written is the way it is pronounced. So if you say the word bra, ub first, ra second, bra. Okay, you bring bub, you add ra. So first is ub, the second one is bra. So that is the first school of thought. Okay, but there are a couple of other additional ones which I've said. The Shaunaka Siksha says the her should be pronounced as a chest sound, uras. So Brahma. Okay, so Brahm, the who actually you say in your chest. That also seems very natural for us to say Brahma, because I think the rishis found that it may be difficult for people to pronounce, so they came up with their own research, I should say, and they said this will work. So Shaunaka Rishi has prescribed Brahma. Okay, Brahma. So you can say actually according to I didn't want to go into details. He says that her sort of takes on the sound of the Vyanjana. Okay, so that takes on the sound of So Brahma. Okay, so that's the second school of thought. The third school of thought also is similar, that is related to the Taittiriya Pratishakya, how Krishna Yajurveda texts have to be chanted. There is a sutram which has two variant understandings. The first school says there's no real change, they will chant Brahma. But there's a second school which thinks it gets switched. Takes precedence over her. Okay, that is how Brahma, that style has come. So actually you can say there are four schools of thoughts. So in the Krishna Yajurveda, but the Brahma school has taken a bit of predominance, the dominance in the Krishna Yajurveda system, which is so that is why you find such pronunciation very, very common in the south of India, where Krishna Yajurveda is learned and taught. Okay, Brahma. So that's the third school. I hope that answers your question. Or third or fourth school, you can. Third different, because the fourth interpretation is the same. So there are three differentiations in how Brahma is pronounced. One is Brahma, other one is Brahma, other one is the Brahma. I will let each of you choose what you feel comfortable with. It will work. So this is an area of a bit of a contention. So I thought I would just spend a little bit of time. I hope that answers. Okay, and I think brother Kumar, I think, has given me something from Tiruvasam. Okay, Karandapal Kannalodu Nekalamtar Pola Sirandadiyar Sinari. So the same concept actually is explained in Shiva Puranam by Manikavasagar. I think people don't understand that many of the Tamil saints, this has happened in every single regional language actually. They have taken many of these concepts and have given it in regional languages, so it's accessible for everyone. This has happened all over India in every single regional language. So the information, God makes sure that the truths reach everyone in whatever language and so on. Okay. So in every regional language also, these thoughts, exactly the translation is there in the Shiva Purana in Tamil. Thank you, brother. Brother Vimalesan, you had a question, brother.
Yes, Saira. I just, the first was Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir. So that is, do you think is it based on the Advaita philosophy? So it says everything is God.
Yeah, so okay, now I will, a very good question, brother. I think, I have left this for the last. So this, I will just talk about what is it Advaita, it is Advaita philosophy. It's pure Advaita. But the same principles, if you take the Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 commentaries available which are popular commentaries. One by Adi Shankaracharya, which looks at it from an Advaitic perspective. There is Ramanujacharya, who looks at it from a Vishishtadvaita perspective. There is Madhvacharya, who looked at it Dvaita perspective. So the same verse can be looked at in 3 different ways. I don't want to go into those details, but I will just stick to what Swami has told. Okay, of course, Swami sticks to only Advaitam, which Swami himself has said, which is the Uttara Mimamsa. Okay, Uttara Mimamsa also, that's the school of thought. So Swami is pure Advaita. So we will look at it as Advaita. So in this world, everything is God. Brahma is offering, Brahma is. So the reason why we chant this is at every point in time, even though we have not reached that state of Advaita experience, to get to that point, this will be a prayer which will get us to that point. That, initially we'll say, oh, food is God, ghee is God, fire is God, but we are seeing all these differences actually. Once you reach the Advaita state, you will just say Brahman. You won't even say Brahman because you are fully merged. That is the Advaita state. But these prayers will take us to that place, is my understanding. Brother Dasan has put up his hand. I will ask his question and then I will go on to whatever else I wanted to talk.
So,
Yes, go ahead, Dasan.
So thank you very much for putting up this one. We know it's take a longer time to put in the PowerPoint and explaining. So I have 3 questions, brother. So can you compare that when we do the Havan, we just put Samahiri, and apart from the Samahiri, I don't know what are the most of the items they put it inside. They put some sari, they melt it with the ghee, and they put it in the end. And also they put money, food, and the end, at last they put milk, the end, the closing that thing. So Swami also saying when you are surrendering, the 5 prana also supposed to surrender, body, mind, and 5 pranas. So all these 3 questions, if you have time, you can explain to us. Thank you, Saira.
Okay, brother. It's more than Sanskrit, but anyway, I will share whatever I have. Somebody's asked. So the thing I will first cover. I think the question you asked, why? Okay, first I will answer your question and then I will go on. See, we should understand every yajna which is done, everything which we consider valuable, life-giving is offered into that fire. Okay. Whatever we use, whatever is useful, whatever we give value in our life is all offered into the fire. Okay. Each of the yajnas, the rishis have come up with different prescriptions of how the yajna should be performed. So there are rules associated with, they are given. To some extent, you can say they are very scientific. So when the rishis came up with many of these principles, they have unearthed the principles of how this world functions. And they have, actually they're scientists from a physical perspective also, they were experts in physical science also. And they were interested also in the metaphysics. So most of the yajnas, even the way we chant, for example, if we say Brahmarpanam, they have looked at many aspects before they gave us this verse. One is the sound itself has an impact. How we say the sound also has an impact at a different level. Because our body is made up of 5 levels. The physical, the pranic, the mental, the Vijnanic or the intellect, and the joy, bliss state. So each of them were made in such a way that they will work at every single level. Okay, so there is a significance in what we offer, and the order in which we offer is also prescribed by the rishis, because they have done a lot of research in the physical properties of what gets burned after what and so on. That knowledge may not be available for the common man, but it is available. For example, if you are going to cook a dish, a person who has a recipe will tell, first you cut the vegetables, you start with this, at this point in time you add this ingredient, at this point in time add this ingredient. Only then the dish will become very complete and tasty and nutritious. So there's a process. So that is the way yajnas are designed. For each of the yajna, the rules will slightly change. So in the Purna Ahuti, everything is offered. Purna means everything. So if you read Premavahini, Swami is talking about, I think when we discussed Sandeha Nivarani, this was discussed. I don't know how many of you remember, but Premavahini, there is a, Swami is referring to Premavahini in Sandeha Nivarani. If you'll go back and read it, you will find it. Where Swami says, in this creation, God gives us everything. So everything which we are given in this world can be offered as prayer to God. So the whole life itself is for prayer. So everything which we are given in life, we should offer to God as an offering, and use everything which we are given in our hands, our home, the food which we get, the money we get, everything is used in prayer, worshiping the Lord. Okay, so this is what Swami talks about in Premavahini. Because through that praises, what exactly happens is we connect ourselves to divinity through that process. Is what Swami says. Actually, the description in Premavahini, Swami says, when the sky and the earth are connected with rain, the rain is the one which connects the earth and the sky. And in that connection, everything becomes one. The earth is in touch with the sky. The sky is in touch with the earth. And through that connection, everything good in this world happens. When the rains come, only the earth flourishes. So for that, the connection between all that has to be made possible. These Pancha Pranavayus make that happen. That's why they are called Pranavayus. They make life go on in this world. That's why I gave the example while talking, because this is an open topic. It goes beyond Sanskrit proper, but because you asked, I'm discussing. So the water cycle in the body, the life cycle in the body, the food cycle in the body, all of them are kept running because of this Pancha Pranavayus. That is the way this world, through this process, actually joy and happiness is spread in this world. So that is all signified by the yajna. So the yajna is also symbolizes and reminds us what has to happen, but it has certain scientific properties of impact on environment and people around us. So at every level, the yajna benefits. So that is the understanding I have from this all basically from Swami's discourses, various discourses. Actually, if you read the summer course discourses, Swami has covered. Let me just mention this, because when Swami introduced these two verses for us to chant, in this hostel, it was done in Vrindavan in the 1970s when Swami established the college. That's how we started. Then during one of the summer courses in the 70s, in one of the discourses, Swami is talking about that to the students who came and attended the studies summer course. Brother Vimalesan raised his hand, so I will ask him what he...
Yeah, just, no, I just want to, what do you think about this? Is it the first word, can we take it as the external yajna, and the second word as inner yajna? Is it?
So I will tell that, brother. I will tell, because Swami has explained it in one particular discourse in one of the summer courses. Swami is telling, I think because the summer course is open to outside students also in India those days, and even from abroad. So in one of the discourse, Swami says, before food, you all are chanting these two verses. You may be thinking it is superstition. You may be thinking it is some mumbo jumbo. So I want to explain it to you. This is what Swami says. So the first, I think I will first address what Brother Melation asked, and then I will go on. Because Swami says, Brahma Arpanam, God is Brahman, food is Brahman, all that we say. Okay. So that is the prayer of the devotee. The devotee says God is Brahman, God is food, God is the one who is offering. So that is the individual praying to the Lord. So as soon as the individual prays to the Lord, the God responds. The God confirms it, saying Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. That means the first one is the devotee praying to the Lord somewhere else, and then the Lord tells you, look here, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. I am resident in you, in your body. So Swami says it is actually a conversation between the devotee and God. The devotee prays and God confirms, Aham Vaishvanara Bhutva, I am there, I am doing it. Okay, so that is the assurance which we get from the second verse. So you can say the first verse is the devotee praying to the Lord. The second word is Lord saying it and we repeating what the Lord is saying. That the Lord is the one who is keeping it. That is his Lord's assurance. This is what Swami has told. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know whether I addressed it sufficiently, but then I will go on to just say what Swami is told in the discourse. Swami says, so Swami tells that a small story Swami is talking. Swami says in ancient days, many people used to chant the entire 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita before taking food. The entire 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, people will get so worried, by the time you are so hungry and you have to eat and you have to say the 15th chapter, it's too much. Okay. So, Swami comes and makes it simpler. Okay. And so Swami picked these two verses and gave it to us. And he said, this is the way you chant. Okay. And then he gives an explanation. He says, apparently a long time ago, there were two scholars, Vedic Pandits. They were going to a king's palace for some function. And, they had, they were planning to do something and they wanted the king's help. And they were not sure whether when they go there, whether they will get the help or not. So apparently but they were very, very devout. And they were chanting these two verses, okay. And so what happened was, apparently, when they were going along the way to the palace, at one place they stopped for having their meals. So they sat under a tree and they started chanting the 15th chapter. And when they came to this 15th chapter, 14th shloka, suddenly there was a big sound, a noise, as if two branches of the tree were beating each other or something like that. So they didn't realize what was going on. Suddenly, a Gandharva appeared. Gandharva is a celestial being. He appeared and he told them, because you all chanted this, I who was stuck in this tree because of some curse was liberated. And I really want, because you all came and chanted and your prayer gave me this effect. So I want to do something for you. And so they asked them what I can do, where are you going? And they said, we are going to the king. So that person said, don't worry. When you go there, though there will be many people, I will make sure the king pays attention to you. So these two people thanked him and then they went to the palace. And when they reached the king's place, though there were many people, something made the king come to them and ask them to come and sit in the front and pay attention to them. He listened to what they had come to see him for and dealt with whatever they wanted and gave them resources to continue their sadhana. And they went back happy. Okay. What Swami says is, see the impact of Swami. Just, I'm sure the millions of things happening. Swami says, so by chanting this verse, your worldly prosperity is also guaranteed. Okay, the worldly prosperity is also guaranteed just by chanting this shloka. You may not know how it is functioning. So, as an example, as an illustration, Swami gave this. So, what Swami said is, by saying these prayers before every meal, you will ensure your physical, material, and spiritual well-being by just chanting only these two. You don't need to chant the entire 15th chapter. Just chant this, and that will vouchsafe for you everything. Because the sound itself is mantra. Everything put together will benefit you. So these were Swami's instructions. I thought I will share that with you all. I hope that's good enough. If there are any other questions, I will answer. I don't know whether you all are happy whether you came to study Sanskrit and I'm talking all this. But I think some of you seem to be interested because there is a principle which comes from this. The reason why we are learning that is the sound, the scientists who have composed this have looked at every single aspect and put together. Because these sounds, because sometimes we think, oh, it is Sanskrit, it's a different language, my language is different. See, many of us have come, many of them are from India or Sri Lanka or speak Tamil or any other language, North Indian languages, Hindi and Gujarati and so on. Why do we learn English and come and work somewhere here? Because we can say, oh, in my place everything is available, I don't need to learn your language. No, because there are texts which are available in English. Only if you read the English, even if it is translated, you can read and understand. If you want to come and study further, you need to know. And so the thing is, Sanskrit as a language is much more evolved and has done a lot. So having an open mind, yes, to understand the importance of sound, how they have worked with sound, is phenomenal. And a person, it can only come with experience and experientially benefiting from it. Not to say that other languages and other sounds don't have, but Sanskrit, because it's very well done, it's very well scientifically developed. It's like a nuclear science, if you want to say. We can have hydroelectricity, you can have a dynamo, bicycle, giving light. That's all work. There's solar energy and all that. But nuclear power is, it has its own its own rules, its own system. There are people who have studied. So the way Sanskrit also has something, and if anyone wants to benefit somewhat, understanding the sound, learning the chant, they will physically feel the benefits, is my understanding. So I thought I will just share that. Knowingly doing it is the most beneficial, and that's what Swami had spoken about in many different occasions. Okay, I hope that helps. I will stop here, and if there are questions. I think if there are no questions, I think you all want to chant it. I will just chant it once. And I will chant the food prayer. Means it's a food prayer. Everything is food after all. So you can chant it any number of times, anytime, but definitely before eating food. So I will just chant the shlokas and verses, and we will close today if it's okay. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यम् ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः प्राणापानसमायुक्त पचाम्यन्नं चतुर्विधम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Sai Ram everyone.